Hi, good morning, everyone. It's one of that days where we bring coffee with founders to all of you. I know this is one of the most awaited programs on a Sunday for all the amazing professionals that I keep interacting on a daily basis. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Founders. Art of Working supports career professionals in super boosting their career. Art of Working does one to one career counseling and also supports corporates in developing their human capital. The human capital, which generally they call it as workforce, manpower, but we consider you to be the part of that major asset of an organization, which is not necessarily reflected in their balance sheet. I am Atul Holkar, the career designer and the founder of Art of Working. Art of Working is available on all the digital social media platforms, be it Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. So wherever you are, we are there with you. And as usual, we bring amazing set of people from across the globe. We brought someone from Australia, we brought someone from Canada, United States, and obviously from India. But this time we are just going across the sea to Dubai. And in Dubai, we are going to get you an amazing guy. His listeners say he's passionate, charming, and most of all, he speaks from the heart, and that is so very important in the current environment. He can move crowds so that the crowds can move mountains. Our next speaker helps in developing leadership communication through mindfulness, resulting in leaders, teams, and individuals being able to lead with courage, clarity, conviction, compassion, and thus embracing conflicts, enriching relationship, and tapping into emotional wisdom. He is part of National Academy of Best-Selling Author, has 25 plus years of global experience, has spoken in over 21 plus countries and delivered talks to 51 plus nationalities. Oh, amazing. Ladies and gentlemen and fellow professionals, this man on a quest of mastering your communication to cultivate and elevate success. I am so happy to introduce Rohit Bassi live from Dubai. Hi Rohit, welcome to my program called Coffee with Founders. And let me first thank you. I know it's just about 9 o'clock in Dubai. You on a Sunday morning where you would love to be in bed and relaxing and getting ready for the next week, but you took time off and joined me. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Atul. Just to clarify to you and the rest of the listeners, our working day starts on Sunday. So this is a working day for us. So Sunday to Thursday, and
Right.
then there's some people who start their work on Saturday. Although there's been certain articles now in the news saying even the UAE might be going to be working as the rest of the world, Monday to Friday. Atul, thank you for allowing me to be here. Truly appreciate this.
Great. So, guys, before actually we start talking to Rohit about his journey, his failures, his success, his global recognition, I would like to share one video of his, right? So it actually builds up the case as to how do we best milk Rohit for, just furthering our career, furthering our life. So let me show you something which is very, very interesting.
Disruption is a time for transformation. We must realize that ROI goes beyond financial gains. It is about the development and practical application of three things: intelligence, communication, emotional wisdom. An act simply known as executive presence that leaders and individuals need to excel in. In ancient wisdom, it is known as jigra, or as some would say, braveheart, resilience, having grit. It involves journey of self-leadership, then leading others. It is an inner self-discovery leading to developing your outer self. Having gratitude in all situations, no matter how tough. Respect and integrate both emotions and logic. And finally, it is about awakening the ACE: awareness, consciousness, energy.
Wow, that was amazing. Rohit, just to start with, if I look into and if I get into the history, the Earth in its form started 4 billion years back. Just few million years back, the Homo sapiens, as one of the species, came on to, recognition by the animal kingdom. It's just about few lakh years back, that few 100,000 years back, that the humans started moving around. It's just about 70,000 years back that they actually moved from Africa to Asia. If I know the real civilization, people just take it about 20,000 years back. But the key of human development started with one thing, and that was communication by language. And that is where, when I see the history of Sumeru civilization, that is the first time when the communication happened through language. Why communication is important? Because it also shows how fast the human development happened in 20,000 just about 20,000 years. And faster we started communicating, the faster the development started. Imagine just about 20 years back, when the digital media started coming, how fast the communication has become. If something is said by Trump or Joe Biden here in India, within few seconds I can react and tweet them back. POTUS, what are you talking about? So the communication has become the key to life, key to success. And here I would like you to introduce communication to all of us.
Okay, so interesting. You've gone through the history of what's been happening and how we came into existence and how we communicate. But do we really, really, really communicate? Even with so much technology, so much development, humans have a great ability to burn bridges rather than build bridges. Um, Unfortunately, um, tools such as what we're using at the moment, um, WhatsApp, Facebook, television, social media, mass media, is seen as communication. Those are simply tools or mediums of communication. They are not communication. Communication, or when we say, is when effective communication is happening, we understand each other. Forget about effective communication. Great communication happens when we are able to collaborate, when we are able to work together, when we are able to have peace and harmony amongst all of us. It doesn't matter if it is at work, it doesn't matter if it's in a relationship, It doesn't matter if it is on a country level, on a global level. If communication and when communication is great, that is when you see and feel and know things are really evolving. Look at all the mass technology which we have. Um, we may say, oh, we're communicating. Are we really communicating? Because look at all the destruction which is also happening across the world. If we were such great communicators, and this goes up to the great leaders across the globe, this place would be in harmony. So, are we really communicating at a very sophisticated, or let's say at a very high level, that everyone is able to work together, collaborate together, and be in harmony? A simple answer for me is no, we're not.
Okay, okay. So I understand. I mean, but tell me one thing, is communication only language, what we speak, or communication is much more than the language we speak?
Look, Atul, you and I are speaking in a common language, which is English. Uh, so it's just a language. Is so it's, but is it really communication? If I say to you, "Hello," okay, you may listen to me or not listen to me. I have no idea. Now I could extend that by saying, "Hello, Atul, how are you today?" The whole context starts changing. Or I could start speaking to you, "Hello, Atul, how are you?"
No.
Yeah? Or just say hello. It's how you say it, how you action it, how you feel about it, that makes a massive, massive difference. So most of us consider communication as just speaking through a language. A classic example of is this is the most common business language across the world is English.
Yes.
And when someone is unable to speak English, and a person who is able to speak English, uh, those people tend to look down upon those people who cannot speak English.
Yeah,
It's not
over
always the
agree.
case, but it does exist. We see this in interviews as well, and it's a sad fact. If you look at for example, in India, when people are talking to each other, most of the times in the so-called the professional environment, they're speaking in English rather than their own language. Great, it's a business language, it's wonderful. Now, someone comes in for an interview who's great in the skills which is required for the organization, has great attitude, but cannot speak the language great or cannot speak it as well at all. People make fun of him or make fun of her. That breaks the whole essence of communication, because now what you're doing is associating communication to just a language. You're not looking at the whole package. So communication is not just about language. Again, it's a tool. Now, even before we was using language, we were communicating in one way or the other. Forget about that. You have children, Atul.
Yes.
You know by just looking at your child, something is wrong,
Yeah.
or something is your child is really excited about something. He or she has not said anything to you, but something about the feeling, the body language they give, the gestures give you that indication. Oh, something is up over here. Yeah? So did you speak in any language? You didn't. So communication is not just about language; it's a whole package of numerous things. So, like you saw in the video, communication is what we do on a day-to-day basis. We do it with ourselves, but what we require is that emotional wisdom, and we need that intelligence. It needs to be integrated so that we can communicate in a mindful manner.
Absolutely, absolutely. And tell me one thing, that not everyone is a born communicator, right? And I'm sure even you were not born communicator. And if I understand your journey from your colleges, school, you started from Ealing College, then you went to University of Surrey. In 1995, you did your computing science from St. James College. But in 2005, you started learning training delivery skills. right? So I could see that you started developing speaking skills after being a, a tech guy, right? A geek, if I can use that word. And suddenly you went into the human part of life. And then you became a DNA practitioner. And Ushi Shika Royo, you need to explain this later in the program. And then you went into Vipassana and applied neuroscience. So I would like to, to explain to all of us how it's important to learn communication if you are not born a, not, I don't think anyone is born communicator, right? You learn. So how did you learn?
Okay, so just want to clarify some things you've said over there. Um, in terms of, I did my BSc in information technology and information study, in applied computing and information studies and business studies. I got it in 1995. Okay, thereon I went into my into the profession, which was into IT. And then as I was doing IT, I realized that at a certain point that actually it was one of my managers, and this is Craig Chapman. I thank him gratefully that he made me realize that I was great at educating in terms of learning and development. And that's where my journey started. And this was and there was no formal training in train as how you deliver training. I have learned it the hard way, which is actually going out and practicing it and doing it. I'll also make another thing very, very clear. I am not a strong believer in certification. I say that because majority of the times which I have seen across what certifications are all about is it's about cramming up information and giving an exam. Sorry, that is not the practical use of a given art. When you are practicing it and when people are engaging with you and you're using that art to help yourself, that's when it's really shown how great you are at your art, be it in engineering, be it in IT, be it in training, whatever it is. It's about the practicing part of it. So I would not even call myself an expert in a field. I'm a practitioner in my field, which is delivering in terms of speaking, training, and coaching. Now, you said no, not everyone is born a communicator. I'm going to completely disagree with you because everyone is born a communicator. When you are a child, the first
Yeah.
thing you're doing is you start crying, and your mother and your father knows that you need something. You are communicating. Okay,
Okay. Right.
so when you grow further up, we are now being conditioned by our family environment how to interact with other people. So it is not that we cannot communicate, we are conditioned not to communicate or to improve our communication. That is what's literally happening. And that
So
happens.
let me intervene here because otherwise we'll move ahead. So let
Mm,
me correct my question now.
mm.
You, I totally endorse and agree with you when you talk about communication. Yes, communication. How do you become a public speaker would be the right question, right? Because that not everyone is, right? So let me frame it like that.
Okay, so if we're looking as a public speaker, um, the only way to become a public speaker is go out and start speaking. It doesn't matter if you're speaking to 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, 10 people, 20 people, 100 people. Go out and speak. Go out and speak. Yes, it always definitely helps to prepare yourself and go out and deliver. It makes life much comfortable. At the same time, as you grow in your career, there's a lot of times you have to do impromptu talks. So if I was to recommend anyone to go into public speaking, is first I would recommend them to observe what other people are doing. It's not necessary. Okay, not necessary is the wrong word. Never copy anyone. You have to bring your own style into action. And the only way you're going to do is actually by delivering something, anything it could be. It could be, I mean, if you look at teenagers, uh, from a teenager life, start speaking in the class, if not in class, gather in groups and do whatever you need to talk about. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm going to go a bit step further is public speaking, or people also call it presentation as well, which because we use the slides elements, often people see public speaking as standing up and speaking to the rest of the people. Now, public speaking, if you look at it in its essence, is you are presenting, you are communicating. The moment you wake up in the morning, forget about waking up in the morning, doesn't matter, all the time you are presenting yourself to yourself, something in your mind, a thought, a feeling, that's what you're presenting. And then you act it out to the world outside. So the first part where public speaking starts is what's happening in you. A number of people come to me and they say, oh, I want to be great at public speaking, but I am scared of speaking. And often what's, I find it very offensive is where people say introverts cannot do public speaking. Yet I've seen some of the greatest speakers are actually introverts. In fact, to a certain extent, many people label me as an introvert today, which is fine. I have no challenges with it. At the same time, associating that you cannot do something because you've been labeled as something is absolutely absurd, totally idiotic. So if you are someone who is looking to do public speaking, the first thing is you need to realize you will need to get up and speak. Okay. Now, it doesn't matter how big your audience is, at least get up and start speaking. That will give you the confidence to move forward. Or also what it also does is it also breaks your confidence. So this all comes down to having, the first thing is having courage, having the courage to actually do it, even if you are not succeeding in it. So having that courage that you are going to do that. So once you've got that courage, is then you start getting some clarity on what you want to deliver. So you start delivering that. Also having that conviction that you will deliver whatever you want to talk about. And at the same time, having that compassion with yourself and the audience about what your message is going to be. So courage, clarity, conviction, and compassion is what is required to be an amazing public speaker. And it all starts with you getting up on the stage. And that doesn't mean it's got to be hundreds and hundreds of people. It can be 2 people, 3 people, just getting up on that stage and speaking.
I agree with you. I just would like to share. I started speaking on a stage from grade 8 or 9, and we used to have these houses in the schools where each house was supposed to manage the morning assembly for 1 week, and then it used to roll over to another house. And there I was supposed to be one of either the coordinator or a news reader, right? So firstly, every morning I had to look into the newspaper before my father could lay his hand, pick up the headlines and put it on a piece of paper, walk up with the team onto the stage and try to read that. It was very very difficult, and I would call myself an introvert at that stage. But it started, I started breaking that mold of introvert, right, and started speaking publicly. Initially I also hesitated, but I also realized it is practice, which actually is very important. So there's a question from Mr. Aditya. He says, tell me, how much is practice and skill, and what is the weightage you give to each of this that is required?
Okay. I have done, when I started all of this, I was never formally trained in public speaking or presentation skills or in training skills. I just picked it up as I was going, and I fortunate enough, I was aware somehow or the other that it has to be done in the way I feel most comfortable, i.e. in my own style. I later on went into doing some qualifications, and I went into courses as well. And what I found in those courses were they were not practical. because when you are out there and when you're delivering it, it is not it was not the same as what they were teaching us in these courses. So definitely practice is required. Definitely skill factors are required. Even without having any skills, you can still deliver, because that will allow you to see how you need to deliver in the first place. There are people who are very natural at presenting, at public speaking. And at the same time, there are people who are not natural at public speaking and delivering their message. So yes, there is skill required. The only way you are going to realize what skill you need to work on is by actually first going out and doing a talk. Now, even before you do a talk, you need to be prepared for that talk. And you need to have someone who is willing to assist you on how you can develop yourself. As I mentioned before, everyone has their own style of delivery. And when I'm working with individuals, what we do is we first see what is your style, what makes you stand out, what is that factor that makes you stand out, and let's focus on that and use that to your advantage and deliver your message. I say this because when I was in my teens, I used to read a lot of Swami Vivekananda's work. And one of the things which I really stuck with me, what he said was, I'm just paraphrasing it, but there was one particular quote which I remember he used to say is, okay, stop focusing on your weaknesses, focus on your strengths. Because when you focus on your strengths, the weaknesses start dwindling away. Most of us are focusing on our weaknesses and attempting to improve our weaknesses and not focusing on those strengths which are already at a high level. And suddenly you're improving your weaknesses, you're on the same level, but you've not really made those strengths much stronger. So focus on your strengths when you are even public speaking or doing any kind of work. That doesn't mean you are not going to develop the other part, but you know what you're good at and you do that. For example, Atulji, you are from the army, ex-army, yes?
Yes.
And if you look at how, and an army is all about training, learning. You are not 24/7, on the border. You are majority of the time, you are training, you're learning, you're developing your skills. And what you do is and if I'm not mistaken, is you find out which person has the greatest skills in a certain thing, and you move them, direct them in that direction, because that's what their strength is. Absolutely. Rather than putting them in a position which they are weak at. So that's what, and the same goes with public speaking. Same goes with anything. So for example, even a footballer, if you are a good defender, they will put you in the defending position. If you're a good striker, they will put you in the striking position. It's because that's where your strength lies in. So, and that's what you have to do is when you're public speaking is saying, where does your strength lie in, and let that shine out. Now, some people are very great at, when they're public speaking, is at humor. Use that to your advantage. In fact, what I would say is, if anyone wants to go into public speaking, look at stand-up comedians and how they go through their sketch, how they go, and they can keep your attention for more than an hour, and you want more of it. Yeah, because the way they connect the stories together. And all of these comedians have their own style, but yet we enjoy them. So it's about working on what is your strength and developing that much stronger. Again, it comes to the first thing is you need to, when you go out there, you will always have a certain skill set. You take that skill set and you go on the stage. And what you do is, ideally nowadays, it's so easy. When I started off, this was very difficult because you could not record yourself. or you had to have expensive equipment which was not affordable for you to even obtain those equipment. Now you have your iPhone, your Androids. You use those to record yourself to see how do I improve myself for the next. I have so many recordings, and if you look at my old recordings and you see now the style develops, even now till date, I will look at my recordings and see what is that was strong about it and what is possibly I could improve for the next time.
Perfect. So, Rohit, actually, see, I try to understand that we are talking about public speaking on a stage where you're conveying your message, but speaking is equally important. The communication is equally important in your day-to-day life. When you're talking to your team in a very, just a regular meeting early in the morning, you're talking as a leader when you're talking to a large number of people, when you're talking to your communicating with your even boss as an employee, right? So I mean, it is so important in professional life, but it is also important in the personal life when you're talking to your own wife. And at times you better be careful when you're talking to your wife, right? So communication is not merely on stage, it encompasses the entire life which you are living. And even when you talk to your dog, you would, like when you communicate with your dog, there are certain set of people who you would find that they're very, close to a dog. And some people, the dog doesn't get closer to you at all because the communication skills are not good. So, I would like to understand how important it is for any one of us, whether it's personal or professional life, to develop that communication skills. And we are not talking about public speaking or on a stage speaking, even just day-to-day interaction. Yeah, Rohit.
I can hear you. Were you feeling uncomfortable when I just went
Obviously,
off?
yeah, obviously. I thought probably there's a break in communication.
Break in there. So I just did a very short experiment to show you how important communication is. I just went quiet, and you're wondering what's going on. And one of the most important tools in communication is silence. And we as humans uh, are unable to appreciate the power of silence, or when we're speaking, pausing. And communication, be it at work, be it in your relationship, be it in your personal life, uh, is required. Simple as that. It's how the other person understands you, or do they really understand you? And it comes down to a very core factor is conditioning. People use the word programming. I prefer using the word conditioning. We are told that we're programmed in a certain way. Um, I would say that we are conditioned in a certain way because as humans, we can be reconditioned and reconditioned and reconditioned. With a program, you can upgrade it, but after a while, if the program and the hardware is not compatible, you've got challenges happening. So as humans, we have an ability to recondition. And as I mentioned earlier on, is we are conditioned from a very young age on how we are meant to communicate with someone. So this is where our beliefs are formed in our younger days. And if we are conditioned to speak in a certain manner, we carry that out through our life. And it's through some harsh realities we need to change them or transform that way of communicating. So relationship, work, business, life, communication is very, very crucial. And this is where I say mindfulness is very important, or
Right.
being mindful about how you communicate.
No.
Unfortunately, majority of people misunderstand what mindful or mindfulness is. They relate, and I was one of those people as well. We relate mindfulness to meditation. It certainly has a part to do with meditation, but mindful being having a state of mindfulness is in everything which we do. how we speak, how we use a body language, how we use a tone, the words which we use, all is related to mindfulness. Not even that, every activity which we do is related to being mindful. What does it mean to be mindful? Mindful in basic terms means to be present, being aware of what you're doing every moment of your life. So every activity you do, every interaction you do, walking, eating, everything, are you mindful of that activity? And so the same comes with communication is, are you mindful of how you are communicating? Now, what happens is, and this is what I've seen for myself, is even though I am mindful of my communication, at the same time, because of the way I was conditioned at a young age, it has an impact on how mindful I am. Because no one actually taught me from a young age. And if I'm not mistaken, none of us are taught to be mindful from a young age. And that, and there's certain incidences which happen with me where I get angry, I get upset, I get frustrated, I get irritated, is because that is how I've been conditioned from a young age. At the same time, because I am doing my best to be mindful, I'm also realizing, getting awareness of my triggers of getting irritated, angry, upset, and so forth. It never helps. Anger does not help us. Irritation doesn't help us. Frustration does not help us. What it does make us realize is, if we become aware of it, is what are the triggers which are causing them and how to minimize them and or eliminate them. In other words, transmute them. So it's very crucial for all of us to be mindful. And if you look at the essence of mindfulness, or mindful originates from India, yet sadly, India is a place where it's not practiced.
Yes.
It is not practiced. It's been in the culture for such a long time, and it's extremely sad to see that a nation with so much culture, so much knowledge, where other countries are using those for the benefit of their people and for themselves, while in a country like India, where it's born over there, or let's say it's been discovered over there, it's not being practiced.
It's like yoga, yoga after going out of India, it's coming back to the middle class of India again, because now it's a recognized Western, certification. So it says, okay, so probably yoga is good. Oh, we started it, let's do it better, right?
And if you look at even taking yoga as an example, you had there are some amazing yoga teachers who are not so-called certified. They are practitioners in the art.
Yes. There is one question which has come, Rohit, and it's from Manoj Rana, and he says, "Sir, if you have an opportunity to address an educated group who know both Hindi and English, and you two know both the languages equally well, what will be your language to address this group?" Right? तो रोहित, आपको अब हिंदी में थोड़ा बताना पड़ेगा कि अगर हिंदी और इंग्लिश सारे जानते हैं उसके अंदर, आपको भी दोनों लैंग्वेज पता है, so what is the right combination? Do you speak only English, only Hindi, or a mix of English and Hindi? क्या बात करेंगे, कैसे बात करेंगे?
ज्यादा मैं अंग्रेजी बोलता हूँ, मैं हिंदी पंजाबी उर्दू बोलता हूँ. जो मैं हिंदी पंजाबी उर्दू बोलता हूँ, मैं मिक्स करता हूँ.
Okay. So Punjabi में तो I think because it's a family channel, so we will restrict to decent Punjabi, I'm sure.
नहीं, देखो, ये गलत फहमी है लोगों की, ये सोचते हैं पंजाबी एक
I have stayed with Punjab Regiment, amazing set of people, open-hearted, right? And then we know what is the language we use after 8 p.m. in the evening. But I appreciate it. It's so effusive and so much of energy that comes in with Punjabi. Yeah, you were saying. So.
जिस हिसाब से मैं देखता हूँ, मेरे को हिंदी लिखने आती है, मुझे पढ़ने आती है. ये अलग बात है कि मैं कब पढ़ता हूँ और कब लिखता हूँ, बहुत साल हो गए.
राइट.
मैं ज्यादातर अंग्रेजी में बोलता हूँ, बीच में मैं हिंदी बोलता हूँ, क्योंकि वो इतनी इतने सालों से मैं अंग्रेजी में बात कर रहा हूँ, तो वो नेचुरली आती है। अब अगर मेरे को मौका मिलता है हिंदी में बोलने में, और क्या कहते हैं, किसी जैसे 100 लोग हैं उनके आगे हिंदी में बात करूंगा, वो मुझे टाइम लगेगा। कॉन्वर्सेशन वाइज नो प्रॉब्लम। देखो, अब अंग्रेजी बीच में बोल दी, पूरी शुद्ध हिंदी नहीं बोली ना मैंने अभी। और
राइट।
जो हम बात भी कर रहे हैं, हम शुद्ध हिंदी नहीं बोल रहे। अब जो शुद्ध हिंदी हमें सुने, जो शुद्ध हिंदी बोलते हैं, वो हमें सुनेंगे, वो बोलेंगे ये पागल है, ये हिंदी कहाँ बोल रहे हैं। तो जो हम हिंदी बोलते भी हैं वो शुद्ध हिंदी नहीं है, वो तो है नहीं। तो अगर मुझे मौका मिलता है, जहां पे मौका मिलता है, मैं ज्यादातर अंग्रेजी में बोलता हूँ, क्योंकि वही लैंग्वेज मैं यूज करता हूँ पब्लिक स्पीकिंग के लिए।
Right.
अब देखो,
Because the
पब्लिक
crowd is also like that. It is
क्या है,
global. Yeah.
पब्लिक स्पीकिंग का मेरे को हिंदी भी नहीं पता क्या है। अब आपको पता है हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं पब्लिक स्पीकिंग को?
थोड़ा सोचना पड़ेगा, शायद सोच के बता
नहीं ना,
सकते हो।
हमें, क्योंकि हम अंग्रेजी इतनी देर का बोलते हैं, हम अंग्रेजी बोलते हैं, तो
सार्वजनिक बोलना या सार्वजनिक संबोधन।
देखो, अब वो मैं, अगर कोई मेरे को कोई बोलता है क्या भोजन खाना है, तो आप समझे कि इसलिए मैं अंग्रेजी में ज्यादा बोलूंगा, और बीच में जहां मेरे को मौका मिलेगा, जहां ठीक लगता है, मैं हिंदी में बोलूंगा।
बिल्कुल।
अगेन, जो लोग मेरे आगे बैठे हैं, खड़े हैं, डिपेंड करता है किससे बात कर रहा हूं मैं। ज्यादा से ज्यादा मैं अंग्रेजी में बोलता हूँ, क्योंकि वो ही मैं इस्तेमाल इतने सालों से कर रहा हूँ। ये अलग
राइट।
बात होती है, अगर शुरू पब्लिक स्पीकिंग हिंदी और अंग्रेजी दोनों में करता, तो मैं दोनों आराम से बोल लेता। अब मैं जानता हूँ इंडिया के पब्लिक स्पीकिंग जो अंग्रेजी बोलते हैं, हिंदी भी बोलते हैं, उनकी मैंने हिंदी भी सुनी है, ठीक है, क्योंकि उनको अपने आप को अडेप्ट करना पड़ा। अभी अगर देखो, फिर से मैं अडेप्ट यूज कर रहा हूँ वर्ड, मेरे को हिंदी में नहीं पता क्या अडेप्ट, या मेरे को सोचना पड़ेगा।
So exactly. So Tapash Das says it's English. So English is the new terms, and he said he's very, very, is happy and fantastic to listening to you, Rohit. But मैं क्या करता हूँ? I'll tell you about myself how it works for me. What I do is it depends on the crowd. At the end of the day, you are speaking in English, but you also understand what is the majority of people's mother
Yes.
tongue. So
Yes.
if there are people, and you see, you're always close to mother tongue, right? So if you are like, if I'm speaking in, say, in English in south of India and say Tamil Nadu, if I can pick up one good sentence of Tamil, and add while I'm speaking, suddenly you will find people will burst into laughter, they may clap.
Yep.
And when I used to be in Netherlands also, and at times if I used to talk to my team, and if I would use few Dutch words, the connectivity improves. It
Yep.
is how you can add both the language. So there is no perfect solution of speaking English or Hindi. It all depends on the crowd. It also depends on what kind of delivery are you giving, right? If it's a very formal presentation, you tend to be in a single language because it's a formal presentation. But if you are in a very conversational presentation, then probably a mix, because where are you heading? You're heading into the heart, and heart is where you're very close to your motherland, your mother tongue. Few words. I like when I go to Bengal and I just ask him Tomar Badi Kotai, then he knows I'm asking where is his house, and he says, "Oh, he know Bengali." The first question is that. So you just connect to people if you can
Yep.
just use few words. Tambi Ingeva means a younger brother, come here in Tamil, and it just say Tani Kundua, get me a glass of water, and you'll find that small smile coming into that person, and this person, using that. Okay. So tell me one thing, is there any technology available which can help anyone who wants to improve in public speaking or, improve his communication?
I need a clarification. What do you mean by is there any technology available?
See,
Could you?
I'm saying that correct. You understand that public speaking is a practice, but any kind of platform which helps you, supports you, like there are so many apps which are available for every skill development. Are
Hmm.
there any skill development apps or any other thing, any website where people can go practice, get, something like that which supports?
So see, if you go to, okay, if you go to my website, I've got an e-course section in there, and
Okay.
I'll give you the link. on the chat over here. And I have got a couple of courses over there, which is some of them are free. So the two ones, so there's one document which is called 9 Things Which No One Tells You About Public Speaking. They can download that and they can use that. Okay. Then there is another one, another course over there, which is called Communicate, Negotiate, and Lead with Great Success. That is 3 videos on public speaking, on how you can actually improve your communication, not necessarily public speaking, but your communication, depending in what situation you're in, meeting, high stake meetings, or you are presenting, or you're public speaking, you can use that. Also, if you go to my, again, into the same section, there is a expert careers from expert learning. This is someone I've tied in. They are a well-known establishment of reselling e-learning products, and they have, and if you go through my website, you can usually get a 10% discount. If you go through that, you have modules available online from well-known experts across the globe, not just in public speaking presentation, but even with your leadership side of things, on how you can get them better. So yes, there is, to put in simple words, yes, there is ample amount of information, courses, technology available out there, which can be used to improve your public speaking. I have used in the past YouTube, I have used books to understand what it is. Although what I have realized through my time is, when I'm working with other people, when I'm working with a coach, okay, that develops me the greatest, because they actually bring you back to the base and say, go, and I'm talking about great coaches. So I wouldn't even call them great coaches. I would call them coaches, mentor, trainers in the field of public speaking presentation, where they bring you back to the foundation. What is your style? Develop your style, not what it says in the book, how it says in the book. You can, I mean, you can pick up one of the greatest books is by the TED people. So the TED Institute, they've got their book on public speaking. Great book, wonderful book. Now, it's not necessary you will be able to do everything in it, but it's got a good, really great structure. Now, when somebody is working with you on a coaching basis, on a mentoring training basis, you achieve far greater than reading any of these books. And what you'll see is the great coaches, the great trainers, the great speakers, they will say, go out and deliver. Go out and deliver. I've had people who are from Toastmasters who've come to me, and they're great speakers, and they've said, look, I need to improve my public speaking. And I'm like, but you're in Toastmasters. They said, no, it's a different ball game when you're doing Toastmasters, and it's a different ball game when you're actually dealing with presenting in a business organization. Yes, you pick up skills from there. Yet at the same time, when you are pitching, so one of the things which I do is help people pitch their sales, or pitch their idea, or pitch their idea for investors. How do you do that? How do you deliver that? So technology, there is ample technology out there which you can use. There's one particular guy, I can't remember what his name is. He basically asks you to upload an 18 minutes video to his platform, and the system will calculate what you need to improve. I think there's about 150 points he has in there, which need to be improved, which you can improve.
Do you remember the name of that particular this thing?
I cannot remember the name specifically. I cannot remember the name specifically.
Okay.
What I do recall is the basic package to get that. It's about $300, $400.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so you can use that using that technology. Great. At the same time, what I've seen is this guy that does a lot of coaching one-to-one for a simple reason is people realize is when you're doing public speaking, you can only get a certain amount from technology. until you're not going to practice it and you're going to deliver it, it's
Absolutely.
not going to work out. Um,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who take on technology or let's say digital learning, and you waste money. You waste money because you are not going to use it, because you have this in the back of your mind. Oh, it's lifetime access. There is no such thing as lifetime access. What if the company collapses tomorrow? What if technology stops working? You know, there is no
Yeah.
in life. Your life itself has no guarantee. You could die any moment. So
Yeah.
you might as well use someone who can coach you in a set time frame.
Right.
You
Right.
learn far more from that than from any technology out there.
So what
Technology.
I've what
Mm,
I've done, Rohit, is I put your link of Rohit Talks, and just mentioned what all other courses which you do. And if you could also share the links in case at later stage. So there are people, Vikram and all, are asking for those links of these particular platform which we can utilize. But
mm.
however, guys, you can connect to Rohit Bassi directly. This coffee with founders also help you in connecting to the founders directly, and you can improve on your network and take his support, and I'm sure Rohit would be more than willing to improve on his further networking efforts, right?
So yeah, feel free to join me on connect me to LinkedIn. That would be the best place to be, is connect through LinkedIn. Uh, and then I don't know if you've got a link to my LinkedIn profile, so you can give them that link so they can connect over there. More
Right.
just ask. What I would request is everyone is say that you saw me in the art of working. That way, I know where you're coming from, because there's a lot of times there's a lot of connections come through LinkedIn, which sometimes you have to reject them because you have no idea who they are,
So
what is the reason.
I just posted your link of the LinkedIn profile, and everyone can use it. Okay, one area which I'm very intrigued, and obviously I'm the also a certified user of that thing, transition. So I moved from say army to the corporate to a startup ecosystem, which involves my hardcore skills, which is supply chain also, but as well as art of working. I see the same amazing journey in your career as well, and there are large number of people who would like to use the same kind of thing. That they also would like to transition from one phase of their career to another. So you started as system support engineer in SAP, then you went to Sherman and Sterling, Veritas Technology. You came to Question Mark as a training manager. So
Hmm.
that is the side, the first step towards the transition. I would love to hear that. We all would love to hear that part.
So um, from the moment I got out of university, I have always worked with either technology. Apart from Sherman and Sterling, all the organizations which I worked were in technology. They were in information technology, in IT. Um, Sherman and Sterling is a law firm, one of the biggest financial law firms, where I was a system administrator over there. Otherwise, if you look at all my career until 2011, before that, I was only with technology companies, and there's a reasoning behind that. The reasoning behind that was because non-technology companies were not willing to take me on board because I was considered an IT geek.
Oh,
Simple as that.
I
So
agree.
I had been to interviews. So when my stint with the Veritas software finished, um, it came to a completion. I had been to numerous interviews, and it was to be purely in train learning and development in the HR field. And this is what I was told by majority of those people. And they told me that you are in IT, you cannot be in HR, you cannot be into learning and development.
Right, right.
Uh, and it was and even when I transitioned here, when I came to Dubai as well, and I was applying for jobs, I got the same thing. I was boxed into the IT domain. That's it.
Your DNA says you're an IT geek, so you cannot move out of that.
Absolutely. And for me, it was more of a self. Uh, it was not to prove to anyone. It was just to see is is there a possibility for me to move on? And obviously, no organization was willing to take that risk, which I find is and I find that as pathetic. I find that pathetic. It's ridiculous and stupid for any organization who thinks that when they are not willing to give you uh, that uh, opportunity, even though you have the skill sets. You may not be part of that industry, but you still have the skill sets which can be transferred. And I say, look, I have not been in the job market for a long time. I do my own work. 2011, I started my own consultancy for the simple reason is because I could see that I, I was not getting anywhere where I wanted to move into the learning and development field, even over here in Dubai or in the Middle East. And again, it came up, oh, you're from a technology background. And I find that very absurd when people, especially at senior levels, know that skills are transferable. Maybe the industry knowledge is not there that they can learn, but skills are transferable. So if the skills are transferable, then how come you're not allowing it? So it's not it's the way organizations are led. It's with these senior people who are hiring you, when their minds, their thought process is all blocked up, then you're not going to get the opportunities to move
I
forward.
agree with you. I think the corporates and especially the HR itself is also to be blamed to quite an extent because they create so much of silos. Now today I am a supply chain professional, and tomorrow if I go to a logistic firm and I get into HR, probably I would be more suited in HR because I understand the complexities of the entire operation and business, right?
Absolutely right.
And as far as at my level of managing humans is, I think should be a very easy thing to do. It's
Yeah.
only fine. Okay, I do not understand payroll. I do not understand succession planning. I do understand succession planning, but not that templated, formatted SAP kind of a planning, which I will learn. And at some stage, it's very, very important that the industry realizes that we give opportunities to such kind of experienced professionals. Your take, Rohit?
So the thing is, um, we are dealing with humans. We are not dealing with technology. Everything which we do, we deal with humans, and technology is a tool which we use. Unfortunately, we think that we're dealing with technology, not with humans. And this is a sad state of affair across the globe. Um, so when we look at all of this, is uh, when we're living in a world where things are evolving at a very fast pace in terms of technology. Great. What we are not doing is seeing how we are going to evolve our communication. Again, we think technology, this medium of technology is communication. It's not communication. Technology improves things in terms of efficiencies, in connections getting faster with each other, and getting things done quicker. But the technology is not communication, and this is why we need to be mindful in how we communicate with each other, in terms of how we deal with each other on a day-to-day basis. If you are transferring into another role, yes, it is good to have a certain amount of skill sets, but a proper professional will look at your skill sets and see, is this transferable into the role which this person has applied to? In fact, the person who's applied to should be able to clarify how are his or her skills transferable into a specific role. So it's a two-way street, not a one-way street. Yes, I understand from a company perspective that you need someone who's in the industry, so they kickstart, without any minimum training. Let's put it this way. Fair enough. Look at what the COVID situation has put everyone into, where jobs have been lost overnight, and now you need to go and do something else. You're telling me all that you have learned is not transferable somewhere else? Is
Oh
this
no.
what organizations are telling? Well, that's what it seems like. But those skills are transferable. It could be some technical skills need to be updated.
Yes.
So it's organizations and the people in that organization need to be open enough to realize that it is feasible to transfer skills. And this means this is two things that which are happening. One is internal communication. Two is self-communication, what they think, how they're communicating about a certain person or a certain role in the organization with themselves. And this is where we box ourselves. Now, for example, let's say, Atul, you want to be a doctor tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes, there are skills which are transferable, but will I let you become a doctor? Very unlikely until you start training yourself into being a doctor.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
now
Absolutely.
you're getting into a more technical skill set. I have seen some great managers um, uh, who are not part of the industry, and they come and join your organization, and they're great at people management. If you look at certain CFO CEOs, they transfer from one job to another job and from one industry to another industry because they have the ability, the transfer of skills. They may not fully understand the industry, but they will learn about it, or they have the right people around them which will explain them how the industry works, and then they can make the certain decisions as a CFO or CEO. So skills are transferable. It depends on who you're dealing with and what organization you're dealing with.
Right. So, we help large number of professional in career transition in art of working. And at times, because I myself experimented the same and understood as to how do you. So I used to always think I'm an army man. There's no I can be a corporate guy. But I came into corporate and I built my way up, and I went to a level where I could head departments, right? If not business. But then everyone used to say, sir, if you are so good in your job, why don't you start your own organization? I said, no, 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 no. I was an army guy. Corporate was great enough, but I do not have a business sense. And now when I started working on my startups, I think it was quite natural for it to come back to me and start using my skills in the new area, because I heard people, I saw that entire business sense when I was in the corporate. It was only now that I was using into my own setup. So this is one part. Second part is, if you're looking into career transition, start building your entire thought process, your ecosystem. If you want to be a public speaker like Rohit is, start interacting with these people, looking into their recordings, one-to-one interaction, take a mentorship kind of a support, get into those courses, because not only it is the skills and knowledge that is required, it's psychological also. You should start transiting to that particular area of work, because if you keep sticking to the old one, it becomes very difficult for your mind to get adapted to the newer one. So slowly you get used to of your surrounding, the new surrounding, and then you start realizing probably your DNA is now under transformation for another set of job. So
Hmm.
this also helps, right?
Yep.
There's Ayub Khan. He wants to understand what are the opportunities after completing the PhD. So I found it to be a very short question. So we can presume that he wants to be a public speaker after PhD, or probably get into more speaking area.
It doesn't matter what level you're at, you can become a public speaker anytime. I mean, that's the beauty about it. It's what do you want to speak about? You have there are people across the globe. You will see people as young as 10 years old who are public speakers. Public speaking is a tool of communication. You could say that, and again, the best way to be a professional at public speaking is going out and delivering talks. The worst thing which you can do as a public speaker is say, I don't need to develop myself any much further. It's an ongoing thing. Like I've said, I've got videos on my YouTube which are like 10 years old, 11 years old, and I see those videos and I cringe. I deliberately still keep them so anyone who comes to my channel, they can see my development. Even now, when I look at some of my videos, I was like, what was I doing over there? What was going through my mind?
I can so correlate. I can so correlate.
There is, when it comes to public speaking, you can start at any time. You just need to have the courage to get up and do it. That's the first thing which needs to be done. I'm again, even if you have the courage to go and do it, do some preparation if you've never done any public speaking. Even with the most polished public speaker, inspirational speaker, motivational speaker, keynote speaker, global conference speaker, whatever you want to call them, they do practice. They do look at how they deliver. They do get a coach to say, here's a work which I've done. Could you please look at it and help me how I can further better myself? Now, when a coach sits down with you or a mentor or a trainer, what they're doing is it's just not about the delivery. They're also seeing in terms of, is there a connection in how you do the flow from the start of the story, in the middle to the end? And that is very, very crucial. If you look at the greatest public speakers, they are great storytellers. I come back to comedians, as in stand-up comedians. They are very good storytellers. They start at a certain point, take you through a story, and they end the session with the story. But there is a connection. There is a theme to their actual stand-up, the same which you do in public speaking. Most people, when they do public speaking or presentations, what they do is they bombard you with information. Unfortunately, humans are not very comfortable with a lot of information, but they do love stories. And when you give your public speaking, your presentation through a mode of storytelling, they actually retain the information far more. Now, storytelling, people confuse it, storytelling, as once upon a time there was a king and a queen. When we come to corporate presentations and all that, it's not necessary you do it that way. A fact, some kind of data, some kind of challenge, some issue can be put into a story format so people can understand what is going on. They retain that information. So again, are you back to your thing about being, you're doing your PhD, which is great. A PhD doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a great public speaker. The way you become a great public speaker and you continue to become even a greater public speaker is to go out and deliver. And if you're not getting the opportunity to deliver, you learn. You sit down, you look at other speakers, you see, if I was to deliver this, how would I deliver it? What would how would I make a difference to it? So learning is it's an ongoing process. And if you look at greatest public speakers, what they tend to do is, it's not just about learning from a book. For example, while we are doing this conversation, I'm going to go back and see how I deliver this talk with you. Because at the end of the day, this is a form of public speaking. Yeah? So I'm going to see what did I say? How did I say things? What do I need to adapt for the next time? Do I say these things next time as well? So you're conscious about those things. It's all about how you interact with other people. So this is also interaction when you're going down to the shop and talking, getting your toothpaste or your grocery, how you are communicating with other people. Are you doing it in an aggressive manner, in an assertive manner, or a submissive manner? How are you delivering it? So the thing is, when you are in the field of presentation, are you being a public speaker, you are always speaking and you're always learning from each interaction. What do I do next to improve myself?
Yeah, yeah, very well said. Rohit, it's been amazing, amazing Sunday with you, and we really enjoyed this interaction, and we are getting amazing feedback already. And like Vikram, we says, great content on communication skills. Thank you so much, sir. And same from my side. I mean, I learned amazing thing today from you. And before you leave, I have got this great mug from the art of working. Whenever I'm in Dubai next time, Rohit, as a token of our appreciation and love, I would personally hand over. We both can
Thank you
have
so much.
coffee,
Really appreciate it. Really, really
right?
appreciate it. Thank you so
So
much.
Rohit, key leadership communication keynote speaker, was live from Dubai, and we are so grateful to him to take his time out on a Sunday, though it's not a holiday for him there, but it's a working day. In fact, that's more difficult, and coming out and talking at length with us. So any one of you who wants to remain in communication with Rohit, please quote art of working communication or coffee with founders, and request for a connection. I'm sure you'll be more than happy in helping you out. Thank you, Rohit, for an
Thank
amazing, amazing insight on public speaking. We are
thank
grateful for you being here.
thank you.
Thanks a lot,
Thank
Rohit.
you, everyone.
Okay, guys, so it was amazing, talking to Rohit Bassi, who was live from Dubai. And like Rohit, we would continue to get amazing personalities from across the globe. So watch out for this space in next 15 days. Whom are we getting to motivate you to become better you, right? Thanks a lot for another great episode of Coffee with Founders. And as you enjoyed, I enjoyed conducting the same. Thank you so much.